self-leadership is the most core fundamental aspect of our being, and it is just what this time is demanding for. I'm not going to sit here and say that self-leadership is the most important tool or technique for our time, because being in our own energy, the core true essence of who we are as soul, as self, is just the core fundamental beingness of us. It's not a technique, it's not a tool, it's just our default mechanism. But if we've not had the guidance and the support from our guardians, from our carers, from school and all that kind of thing, if we've not had that nurtured within us from a young age, then many of us, myself included, have had to relearn and retrain our systems to lead from self. So the way of quickly determining and knowing when we are not really grounded and fully aligned in our central beingness, our central self energy, is when we talk from the I and we talk from a part. So if we are not differentiating between parts and the self, if we don't have that as a natural, just embedded practice, then this gives us some clues as to our degree of self-leadership. So when I'm talking about I'm angry, and then I'm blended with that anger. And so I'm not in this moment differentiating and saying that, a part of me is angry. And this is really the core juice of being self-led, is that when we are able to speak for our parts, we have that bit of space. And so the charge of that part doesn't take us over, and we don't act or behave from that part and project or push out those feelings onto the space around us, which may also include people. We're able to really own and be truly authentic and really own what it is that's arising for us, and really speak for that in a more of a true way of how it's expressing. And then we can express that in that very true way and not make it about anything or anyone else other than just what is arising for us. So we also, when we differentiate, we step out of that victim archetype that often those parts of us are holding, this belief that this is happening to me, and we can step out of that and we can really be clear and we can see the picture for what it is, and we can also tend to our inner world. When we say things like, my soul just needs healing, what we're doing is we're talking from a part. And this is another really subtle way that we can know that we're not in that moment really grounded in our self energy, because we're speaking about my soul. So I'm speaking from the perspective of a part, and I'm as a part saying my soul needs nourishing. But really what I'm saying is I need nourishing, because the soul, the self, does not need anything. It has no needs, it has no desires, it has no agenda. It just is. It is just here. It's conscious awareness. It is an effortless, graceful presence. And it is just here, being with this moment, being with the system. What I'm observing, and I'm having so many of my students and clients come to me wanting to have guidance in how to navigate these times, how to compassionately communicate with others, how to share messages that are really important and aligned for them and their parts, and their parts, some of which are burdened, some of which are unburdened. If you if you're watching this on Instagram or YouTube, then you'll be able to find a previous video I made on the difference between burdened and unburdened parts. I highly recommend that, because again, very important for us to be aware in this moment of where these motivations are coming from, because when they're coming from burdened parts and when they're coming from unburdened parts, completely different charge, completely different intentions. So coming back to students and clients coming to me seeking guidance on how to communicate in these times, I'm getting a lot of stories of of the students and the clients being asked by their community why they're not speaking up about what is happening, for example, in the Middle East and in other parts of the world, why they're not using their platform to like pick a side and talk about it, you know, and influence people. And a lot of the students that are coming to me have parts that are concerned about this and confused about it also, because they have that innate sense, self-led sense, that they are here, that they are primarily to do the inner work, to do the U-turn and do the inner work, so that they can see how, you know, what is there in their own system, and what it is, what the suffering and the pain that is within their own system, and how that's directly linked to the pain and the suffering of the collective, and what we have suppressed for eons, and what we are now finally witnessing together as a humanity is deeply repressed, that is now time to acknowledge and now time to work through. And so, you know, many of the students are doing the U-turn, and they're going, I'm going to do this here as my contribution. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at whatever is arising externally, what that's triggering for me internally and activating for me. I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to look at the things that I've been pushing down and suppressing that is able to come up now. And that is their contribution, and they're holding space, and they're holding vigil and holding prayer, you know, not needing to pick sides, not needing to project their anger, not needing to tell people what to do, or even not needing to share and spread a lot of information, because there's a deep trust and an innate knowing there that that's what they're meant to do. But then when we get questioned by others, that brings up the pre-existing doubt that's in our own system. When we feel judged by others, again, that brings up the pre-existing burdens of our own system. And so then our own parts start to question, start to get confused, start to ask, you know, am I doing the right thing? And we move out of that center, out of that self-led self-leadership. So this whole, it's beautiful, right? Because it's another opportunity to practice. And that is what I keep telling people. All of this is an opportunity to practice and keep coming back to center. Keep in that radical trust of your authentic truth, of your self-led perspective. Because that radical trust is golden. It's that radical trust that keeps us in the energy of knowing that we are where we are going, and how our peacefulness and our prayerness can contribute as we hold space to all of this, and can allow it all to, this cycle to complete in its own way that it's meant to complete. Because if we don't have that radical trust, then what we have is, I have to rescue others. If I have a part of me that believes that if I don't tell people to do this or to do that, if I don't tell people that they have to pick a side, if I don't tell people that they need to be shouting about this, then I'm not doing my bit. And there's a part there that believes that it has the responsibility to do that, and it may very well be burdened. So important for us to come back to ourselves in these times, dear ones.